Hello everyone, my name is Brian P. Easton, and I'm the author of a book series called Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter. And this is the Werewolf Bar, so come on in. Welcome to Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter for the April edition of our 7th season on YouTube. We're glad to have you with us this evening. Kicking things off, like we do every time, let me introduce our creature of the night. This is Moonlight Mayhem from a company called Filmland Spirits. It is a small batch bourbon that weighs in at about 94 proof, which is nothing to sneeze at. And that you can see from the bottle that we've got a movie poster type of a label featuring a werewolf chasing a couple of werewolves actually. One of them's got a bottle in his hand, chasing a couple through what looks like Los Angeles or something. And in the bottom right it says A Saga of Werewolves and Bourbon. And when I saw this, you can imagine my reaction. I was very excited to feature it on the show. Now, the company, Filmland Spirits, has produced or is producing similarly themed whiskeys based on science fiction and I think another genre as well. But on the back of this one, let me just read it to you. It says, "It's Romeo and Juliet with fangs in this story of two star-crossed lovers living in a modern world populated by werewolves. Can a human and his shape-shifting girlfriend protect their love from disapproving families and dangerous foes? Or will she be unable to resist sinking her teeth into the delicious snack that is her sweetheart?" So that'll give you kind of an idea of what Filmland Spirits is about. They're just taking a small batch bourbon and kind of centering a fake movie around it. But since the movie happens to be about werewolves, how could I not feature this on the show? The truth, of course, is in the taste. So let's give this beast a taste right now. Moonlight Mayhem. To you. Okay. Yeah, well, that is interesting and a little hot at 47% alcohol, though I have to say it's nowhere near the bite that Devil's River had last month. And if you didn't see it, you'll have to go back to last month's show and you'll know what I'm talking about. But Moonlight Mayhem, it's not a bad bourbon. Has got a lot of character going on for it. I think the price point is a bit overstated on this, though. It is fun, and that gets points. So not every day, I mean, you run across a werewolf-themed bourbon, and it is a pretty good looking bottle. In other news, just a couple of days ago, Basil Sands and his Sandman Studios of Alaska wrapped up the audio for the Legends of the Werewolf Hunter Anthology Book 2. He'll be uploading those sound files just any time now, and hopefully the audiobook will be available for mass consumption by the time we meet again next month. No guarantees, of course. We've learned not to do that. But I will keep you informed and keep my fingers crossed for it. And there have been some who have asked me how I'm coming along on the Winter Fox Journal's Book 3, or if I've even started it yet. And the fact of the matter is I have not started it yet. I am in what I call the let it get mossy phase of writing. So I have not broke ground on the book. I am collecting ideas still and jotting down things that occur to me and generally looking for something, some concept or idea that's hard enough to strike sparks and set this engine in motion, so to speak, and get the combustion going. Sometimes that takes a little longer than others, and it just depends on how long I've been thinking about it, on what I want to take place in the book. then how cooperative the muses are as well. So we'll keep you posted as time goes on. And if you're subscribed to the channel, when I start a Word document named Winter Fox Journals Book 3, you'll be among the first to know about it. Well, it's been 1 year and 1 month since we last heard from Tex Grebner. Life just happens that way sometimes, and there's nothing to be done about it, really. But we do appreciate Tex, as we appreciate all our contributors when they choose to visit us. And so with that in mind, I am pleased to present to you the triumphant return of Tex Grebner and Tools of the Trade.
Welcome to Tools of the Trade here on Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter. This here is a bow fishing arrow, and it will become relevant here in a little bit because it has a harpoon point on it. Now, I was having a conversation with Basil, and that kind of inspired this segment because Moby Dick is one of the most famous monsters that isn't supernatural. And it's classical literature. The irony of Moby Dick in scientific fact is that we now know that whales are not only emotionally intelligent enough to comprehend revenge, but they also can carry it out. Ahab might not be the good guy, but he is hunting a dangerous rogue animal. Ahab's only sin is that he is carrying out a vendetta on company time, which I don't know if that makes it any better, but it makes it funnier. The conversation then went to the bastard bloodlines, and I had brought up with Basil that the story Mama Don't Allow about the young jazz musician that ends up on a riverboat full of anthropomorphic alligators that want to eat him, that was always kind of uncanny valley nightmare fuel when that episode would come on Reading Rainbow. But it seemed to me that, that fits very snugly within the Werewolf Hunter universe that Brian has created. That brought me to, well, how would you handle a were-alligator? And that brought me to thinking about the harpoon point. Because the way that a bow fishing arrow works is this tip twists off so that you can get your barbs to reverse and get it out. But so much of what I do on Tools of the Trade is coming up with catch-22s or trying to work around catch-22s, because the only part of this that needs to be silver is the tip. It comes through. We have our infernal healing, that is the werewolf's or others' own catch-22, where now this is going to be like trying to pull a dog anchor out of the yard without unscrewing it, because the flesh is going to heal up behind the point and it's going to be stuck in there. Now, this obviously has this safety slider, but if it were an actual alligator arrow, you see that hole right there. That hole would let you drill it out and then mount a cable on it. So the tip is the only part of this that needs to be silver. It goes through and it gets stuck. And if you got from a couple different angles of ambush, you got some of these with silver tips into a werewolf or whatever monster, you could essentially keep it tethered in your kill box. We're going to use if-then logic to explain this. If the flesh of the monster can only be damaged by silver, then if The very tip of the harpoon arrow is silver. The rest is spring steel. The tip creates the damage. The spring steel slides through the hole. The hole heals behind it, trapping the spring steel harpoon head inside, and it cannot be drawn back out. It can only be pushed further forward, meaning that the monster will be tethered or have to essentially destroy a huge section of its flesh to remove the harpoon head, because only the very tip of the harpoon head will be doing the damage. It will be like trying to draw the sword from the stone. But at least in my head, in theory, it seemed quite brilliant, because here on Tex Grebner's Tools of the Trade, we take the lunatic fringe seriously.
Thanks, Tex. It is great to hear from you again, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I might add as well that I am always impressed by the standard to which Tex holds himself when it comes to these different weapons or tools against the beast. What I mean is that Tex is not usually merely content to give a presentation on a tool unless he is able to either demonstrate the weapon's use, manufacture the tool himself, or come up with his own unique ideas as he has tonight. Now, I appreciate his reference to Moby Dick, and I'm sure the discussion there between him and Basil must have been quite interesting. And although I am not familiar, or was not familiar, with the children's book he was referring to with jazz musicians and the anthropomorphic alligators, I have to agree with Tex that the concept of being trapped on a riverboat with were-alligators is high-grade nightmare fuel. So what Tex is referring to there, in case you don't know, as far as the lineage is concerned, is a category of the lineage referred to as the other. Creatures who are better identified through, say, a cat or a serpent or an alligator or any other dozen affinities that owe their existence to something other than woven. These are bastardized bloodlines that strayed from the path of the original woven princes. The glossary at the end of the first Michael Winterfox Journals book has more to say about those. Be that as it may, that's my dust up for a much welcomed return of Tools of the Trade. Thank you again, Tex. Moving on now to what is another direction entirely, we have another entry from X&Z's Horror Movie Reviews. Miles Booth of MB Press and his son have created a YouTube channel where they review horror movies from the perspectives of Generation X and Generation Z. And it's a really great concept, and the guys do a great job on it. And although they have some others that I haven't presented here, if you want to see them, go subscribe to their YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. And tonight I wanted to share with you an older review that they did. Not an older review, but of an older movie that they did that really warrants a second look, in my opinion. I'm talking about The Mothman Prophecies from 2002, based on the 1975 book by John Keel. We'll have more to say about it in a minute, but here's X&Z.
This is X&Z Horror Movie Reviews, and tonight we're reviewing The Mothman Prophecies. This is part of our No Spend Trend video series. This one is on Stars, so you don't have to go to the theater and blow $100. You can stay home and watch it and enjoy a good movie. And this one is a super atmospheric, spooky movie. Loved it. 2002 from Mark Pellington. All right, we're going to go to Z first to find out what he thought of this film and what Generation Z might think of this.
Gen Z is going to like this movie a lot because it's focused around a cryptid, a myth, the legend, the Mothman. Everyone knows who the Mothman is. If you're Gen Z, you know who the Mothman is. We love the Mothman. We grew up with cryptids, watching YouTube videos all about cryptids. it's one of our things. We love it. So seeing a movie about a cryptid, especially this one in specific, is a dream come true. I wish there was more content based around cryptids than just YouTube videos. I found that the twists in this movie with like the prophecies, you know, hence the name, the Mothman Prophecies, the way that they took their own spin on a prophecy instead of it being this unchangeable future that's preset, you can't do anything about. They changed it up. You can change it, which is really nice to see, because in a lot of games, movies, a prophecy, by the time they introduce that idea, the suspense is gone in the entire movie, because you know that whatever the prophecy is going to happen. And so by the time it happens, you're like, okay, and so everything in between it being announced and it happening, you don't really care, because you're like, it was going to happen anyway. Nothing changed. It's like, okay, I guess that was maybe mildly entertaining. But that's just not what they did. They changed it up. They make it to where you do matter in this movie. The fact that the Mothman is very, I'll say modern. It's a very modern, it's not very ancient, it's not old, it's
Not a werewolf.
It's not a werewolf. It can be real, and there's so many reports of it being in existence. It's, you know, existing. It's like, it's possible. And so the idea of it being real is so cool, because it's so possible. It's like when you're looking at the Loch Ness Monster picture, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, that one didn't really strike me as
One
maybe.
picture.
Like, maybe. No. But this, I'm like, okay, alright, this is some serious stuff. And like, the tragedies are amazing. The fact, all of it, every part of the Mothman, which, you know, the tragedies are part of it, that's what I meant. Beautiful. Speaking of tragedy in this movie, near the end, the main character is told by the Mothman that there will be a tragedy by a certain canal or river. It's a river? Okay. The river, and there is a chemical plant that he thinks the tragedy is going to take place in. So he warns the people there's going to be, you know, chemical plant, like tragedy, it's going to be awful. And then it doesn't happen. So he's confused. He's like, what is going on? But by the very end of the movie, he ends up on a bridge. And then he realizes that the tragedy would be the collapse of the bridge that he's on. And so it's a nice twist. You're like, hey, there you go. Like, it was nice to see, because you're not expecting, you're like, oh! And of course that ties in with a real life event that happened with the bridge collapsing. So it's all very cool. That's what I've got. I mean, other than that, the characters just overall could have done, you know, a better job there. They weren't massively entertaining. They did what they needed to do. Other than that, this movie is fantastic. Gen Z will get a lot out of this movie. Passing it over to you.
Okay, all right. Like I said before, this is a super atmospheric movie, and this is from Mark Pellington, who is a director that has a lot of experience making music videos, and that shows, and it brings, I think, to you a lot of the modern touches to it. So he's crazy with the lighting, the dark kind of color palette. The score is very spooky. All of his sequences are a little just off as far as camera angles and stuff goes. Like, it's done in a unique way, in a very horror movie-esque way. So that's going to be cool if you like that kind of thing. Also, it's cool because it's based on an actual book from when the bridge did collapse in Point Pleasant. And there were a lot of deaths. And there were a lot of Mothman sightings before this event. So it's a book. That book gets into a lot more than is featured in this movie. A lot more of the lore and whatever else is going on there. Aliens, Men in Black, like it gets...
Men in Black?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
That's impressive.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot going on there, but anytime you have a horror movie based on true events, like, you know, I'm there. I gotta see it. Gen X also loves their cryptids, without question. So another aspect of this movie that I really, really liked in particular, it's just a small touch, but whenever they do like the mysterious drawings, like one person draws some horrific demonic image and then they travel to the next state and somebody else drawing the same picture, like, yep, love it. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason.
That,
you know,
it was very cool.
I'm a sucker for that. So the Mothman is this creature that people see, and it always has say glowing red eyes, which is something that I had in common with the Mothman a couple of days ago, because it's springtime in Florida here, and the pollen gets underneath my contact lenses, and then my eyes were glowing red, hence my glasses too. But the sightings were always a portent of tragedy to come in the future, which they do a good job of presenting that in the movie as well. As far as the cast goes, Richard Gere, of course, is the lead, and he's playing Richard Gere. Laura Linney plays opposite him, and she does, you know, a decent job as far as what she's supposed to do. Will Patton is always good, and you know, Alan Bates does a nice turn here, bringing a little drama and a little something different to the cast. And other than that, the movie really is about the mystery of this Mothman. Right, so we've spoiled a little bit of it, but not everything. There's plenty of surprises left. If you haven't seen this one, like I said, it's on Stars right now. It's worth a watch. It's really good stuff. Earlier in the review, you had said that you would like more of this material. So I will tell you that Mark Pellington in 2023 announced he's working on a streaming series for this.
All right. That sounds like my kind of bag of chips.
Exactly. Okay, so Mothman Prophecies, nice, scary watch. Just exactly what it's supposed to be. That'll do it for our review of the Mothman Prophecies. I'm X.
I'm Z.
And as always, we thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys, for letting me use your review on the show. So the film, starring Richard Gere and Laura Linney, was a pleasure for me to watch the first time I saw it, especially because it was my first time, I think. I didn't know really what to expect going in. I hadn't read the book at that point. So I saw the movie first, read the book many years later, and I have to say that reading the Mothman Prophecies, the movie does take its liberties and departures from the original text, but what the hell doesn't these days, you know? I love the book in a way that I really can't describe, because even though it is marketed as fiction, ask the old folks in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, whether they think it is. In fact, the Mothman himself, famous cryptid that he is probably the least frightening thing about the entire Point Pleasant, West Virginia experience back in 1966 and 67. And I'm not even referencing the whole Men in Black paradigm. So while it might seem backwards, let me encourage you to watch the movie first and then read the book, because in this case, I think it's probably the best way for you, because you don't want to hold the movie to the standards of the book going in. They're both worth your time, don't get me wrong, in their own way, but the book, as they say, especially in this case, was definitely better. Well, it's last call for alcohol, and I'm going to have another sip of the Moonlight Madness. One more for the road. I'm not really going anywhere tonight. Now, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click that red button in the bottom right of your screen, and be sure to like the video as you leave the Werewolf Bar. You can find us on the web at werewolfhunter.com. You can drop me a line at brian@werewolfhunter.com. and be sure to check out the selection of links in the descriptions below. I want to thank you for coming by tonight and spending some time with us, and we'll be back next month to do it all over again. Until we see you in May, I'm going to leave you with a little something extra with apologies to Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show. Happy hunting and mind the moon.
Well, we're big beast slayers and we're top tier players and we're feared everywhere we go. We'll crush a brood of demons and we'll stomp a shroud of ghouls and track werewolves in the snow. We've seen all kinds of frights and been in all kinds of fights, but the sight that'll get to you is the one like scripture when you see your picture on the cover of the MHQ. Gonna see my picture on the cover. Gonna hand out copies to my brothers. Gonna see my ugly mug on the cover of the MHQ. I got a 9mm Beretta and a blood vendetta, and home is where I hang my hat. I got a taste for what might kill me, and I'm hungry as a vampire bat. Now it's a bloody trade, this grim crusade, but we really don't mind the view. And the view that'll get you's when they put your picture on the cover of the MHQ. Gonna see my picture on the cover. Gonna hand out copies to my brothers. Gonna see my ugly mug on the cover of the MHQ. I've got a 12-gauge twin-barrel sawed-off shotgun that wastes anything it hits. Got a genuine shaman's mojo when weapons won't do the trick. We got steaks and silver and stories to spare, so we might as well tell the truth. That was stone cold drifter, so we can't get our pictures on the cover of the MHQ. Gonna see my picture on the cover. Gonna hand out copies to my brothers. Gonna see my ugly mug on the cover